Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. And as I always say, welcome back to the channel. If you're a current subscriber, if you're new, welcome to the channel for the first time, where the goal is to educate and motivate. Hopefully you learn something from me and I learn something from you through your comments. All right, so no further delay, let's get into it. Let's talk about ego. Now, I'm actually going to divide this topic about ego into several parts because it's I mean, you could tackle this whole idea of ego, this concept of ego from so many directions, that today I want to just focus on ego in relationships and how ego can destroy your relationship. So that's where I want to start today. Let's talk about how ego could destroy your relationship, and there are a couple of things I want to focus on. So first thing, if someone in a relationship just has too much ego, what happens a lot of times, and what I've noticed is, folks, that person, or if both individuals have an outsized ego, so to speak, then both these individuals are focused on their own needs and desires. In other words, all I will care about is what is best for me. What do I need to do to get the things I want? What are the things that I desire? Right? And if I desire something, if you've got that ego, you're putting it in front of whatever the other person wants, right? So that's the thing with ego. Your needs come first. Now think about this. This person, the person that you're dating, if they have that ego similar to you, then their needs come first. So if my needs come first and your needs come first and your desires come first and my desires come first, we can have some problems, right? Because who's going to put, at what point in that relationship are you willing to place the other person ahead of you or the things that you desire in the relationship? Because that's a sacrifice that you're going to have to make at some point in time in a relationship if you want a relationship to work. So who's going to put their desires in front of the other person's, right? The other person's desires in front of theirs. Who's going to do that? That's one of the challenges that we have. When that happens, what I've noticed a lot of times is then now there becomes a lack of empathy. Yeah, because if an individual is the ego is just out of control, then they don't understand what it is to feel what you're feeling, or they can't exactly feel what you're feeling, but they try to put themselves in your situation, to imagine for a second, right? What is this person feeling? What are they going through? They can't see your problems through their lens because their lens doesn't allow them to see your problems, because your problems, guess what, are not their concerns. And it's not their concern. Even if, this is the thing, people with ego will do what they think needs to be done to help you without listening to you. Because obviously you can't be right a lot of times with folks who got ego, right? So they're going to be doing what they think is best for you sometimes, even without listening to you. And even if they were to listen to you, a lot of times, depending on this person's, situation, especially financial situation, if they don't, if if they've never walked that road that you're walking, the struggles that you're seeing, it's very difficult for them to empathize with you because they come first. So it's difficult for them to put that in front, put your needs in front and focus on what might be necessary for you, and feel some sort of sympathy or empathy for you, right? Because empathy is a deep feeling. So obviously if if they ain't feeling no empathy for you, they're certainly ain't feeling sympathy for you, right? So that's the other thing. Then what happens is there's also a difficulty when it comes to compromising. And because again, my desires and my needs come first. So if my desires and my needs come first, it might be difficult now for me to compromise with you. It's the person's way or the highway. It's going to be their way or the highway. Could you imagine if two people in a relationship have that same kind of attitude? It's just difficult for that relationship to work, right? So it's going to be difficult for somebody who has an oversized ego to compromise with you. It's going to be difficult for them to compromise with you because the way they look at it is, why do I need to compromise? Remember, their desires and their needs come first. So if you're in a relationship like this, you're going to find yourself in a lot of times in a situation where you're the one who's having to give up something, who's having to sacrifice something. And it's always what's best for you all, but it always comes from the point of view of what's best for them. So if it's best for them, the other person in the relationship, then somehow it's best for you. That's why it's difficult for someone like that to compromise. So see if you're in a relationship like that. The other thing then resulting from that and just ego itself is the person, they don't want to admit fault. It's difficult for that person to admit that I'm at fault for something. They're always going to try to find a way to turn their wrong into a right. They're always going to try to find a way to turn what they know is wrong into a right. And if for whatever reason they cannot turn that wrong into a right, then what's going to happen is they're going to try to muddy the waters as much as possible, because the whole goal is they can't be wrong and you can't be right. So they gotta muddy the water a little bit so that it's almost unclear of who's wrong and who's right. So they'll attack you, right? So a lot of times what would happen is that person will attack you, throw things at you, mudsling, whatever the case is, call you names, whatever they need to do to say, you see, it's not, you're pointing at me, but also look at you. Let's look at you for a second. You're pointing at me, but let's look at you. Because they can't admit fault. They cannot admit that they're wrong. It's the kind of person who, they're cheating, but they'll probably tell you, well, you've never seen me on top of anybody. Have you ever seen me on top of someone? Narcissist, right? That's the type of person. That's what that ego would get you. They cannot admit fault. So because of that, there's that constant need to be right. And when you know that that person is wrong and they consistently have this need to be right. If I always have a need to be right, then whenever am I saying sorry? And that's where the problem lies, because they're never going to be saying sorry to you. You're never going to hear sorry. Sorry for what? Because they're not admitting fault and they constantly have this desire to be right. Right? There's a constant desire to be right. And if you constantly, always want to be right, then you can have a problem. Because it means that this person is not apologizing for anything. Because first of all, they don't think they're wrong. Especially again, if they could muddy the waters and make it seem like they won't the one that's guilty or wrong of anything. The overall result of this is that you see a dynamic in a relationship where there is significant imbalance, power imbalance, right? It creates this dynamic that provides for a power imbalance where one person always wants to be right, never admits their faults, always wants to put their needs and desires ahead of you. And when you're looking and sometimes at your weakest moment, or when you just need someone to empathize or sympathize with you, they can't even stop to see what you're going through, to understand or appreciate or even respect what you're dealing with. You know why? Because they're so focused on themselves. It's all about them, and them. So are you dating anyone like that, who has that type of ego, that when you trying to have conversations with them, or when you're trying to build this relationship with them, or you're trying to move forward with this person, you're recognizing any of these things that I talked about? tough to be in a relationship with someone who has an oversized ego. Let me know what you all think. Leave your comments. Let me know if you have ever dealt with somebody like this, if you're currently dealing with someone like it, and how do you deal with it? How do you deal with it, right? That's a lot. I'm going to have a couple more videos where I talk about ego and look at it from different perspectives, but I wanted to just start off with looking at it from the perspective of being in a relationship, and then we can go from there. All right, so I got two things that I ask you at the end of every video. One, do something good for someone. And as I will always say, you do not have to be rich to do something good for someone or to give back. Sometimes, a neighbor need help, or somebody, wants to learn how to read, or, you can find something to do. Look for stuff in your community. Give back to your community. Service to the community. And then number two, do something good for yourself. If today's the day you need to start signing up for school, if today's the day you need to walk out of a bad relationship, if today's the day you need to start going back to church, whatever it is, do something good for someone, do something good for yourself. All right. So don't forget to subscribe, share, like, all that good stuff. It does help the channel grow. Road to 5,000 and beyond. And until next time, be good,